Hey, Kathy, we're back.
Hi.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. So this would be these are typical tools I use. You sent me your birth information. So we would look at that first because it gives us the blueprint of who you are. And you can work on it once or you can come back many times. People come back on their birthday for what we call their solar return. People come in for checkups because the planets that are out in the sky right now affect who we are, affect our energies. So astrology is an art and a science, but basically the planets represent the archetypal principles of life, things that all humans share, our instincts. So you have the sun would represent how we, our sense of ourselves. The moon would represent what we need to make us feel comfortable and secure. And Venus is how we love, and Mars is what we desire, and Mercury is how we think. And then the bigger planets tell us how we relate to the culture and to the times. So when people first come, they often come and want to check out that outline, if you will. It's your soul's blueprint. So Carolyn, this is what I'm going to do with you. I'm going to get your chart pulled up here. I don't know how to get it on the thing, but so anyway, you are Capricorn. You were born when the sun was in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is all about dharma, all about our purpose. It's about someone who comes into this lifetime and says, I want to achieve something in our society. It can be in an unconscious way. It can just be pure ambition. I want to work hard and make a lot of money. But in a spiritual sense, it's the person who's trying to find out the reason they came in to help the world. Okay? Yeah. So the sun is where it's like a flower. We turn our face towards it. It's the lesson we're learning. So you, Carolyn, are learning the Capricorn lesson. How do I achieve something and bring my gifts and talents into the world? But the sun isn't the only thing out there. We often what we're really looking at is the sun and the moon, the lunar cycle. Just like we had the beautiful full moon the other night, it's not just about the moon, it's about the light that shines from the sun onto the moon. So anyway, you were born in what we call the disseminating phase of the moon. That means after the full moon, but before the last quarter moon. And so after that phase is where you want to be a teacher, okay? You're disseminating what you know. I'm going back and forth between the chart and seeing you because I want to look at you.
That's right.
Okay, so it's the part of you come in and you go, oh, I know things. In other lifetimes, I've learned things and I've blossomed, and now I want to bring the fruits of my labor into the world and share it. Okay, now your moon is your personality. So the sun, people walk around and go, well, I'm a Leo or I'm a Capricorn, but it's what you're learning. So especially in relationships, and of course we can do relationship charts as well, the moon is what you want to look at. That's who you are. That's who your essence is. And your moon is Virgo. So Virgo is all about how do I be of service to people? Okay, now we can go back and say, what are some of the characteristics of Capricorn? You're ambitious, you're a leader, you do the right thing, even if you don't want, even if you're not feeling like it, you do the right thing because you are the boss. That's one of the things. You're a leader, not the charismatic Leo leader that just comes from charisma, but the elected leader. Okay, so Capricorn also rules government and finance. Okay, and our institutions. So you come in and you could either be a person who goes, I'm going to follow the rules, or you can come in and say, you know what, the rules aren't all they're cracked up to be.
That one.
And, okay, I'm going to live my dharma. I'm going to live my soul's purpose. Okay, Capricorns often achieve things later in life.
Yeah.
They're old when they're young, and they're young when they're old, we say. Okay, and it's an earth sign, and it's what we call a cardinal sign, so it wants to get action. Okay, cardinal signs are the signs that stand on the equinoxes and the solstices. They turn the seasons. So you were born right after the winter solstice. You were born in the sign that turns the season from fall equinox to winter, okay? So you're a winter baby, you're there, but it's all about bringing out the new light. That's what Capricorns are, right? The new light is born, right? So your moon is in Virgo, and that's the sign of how can I be of service. And Virgos get a bad rap a lot of times because they like to be perfect, and that's the trouble. That's the patriarchal view of Virgo, because really and truly you want to be whole. You don't need to be perfect. So when people are more unconscious and they're Virgos, they're constantly thinking. That's a big Virgo issue. Too much thinking. Okay. You have to shut it down. And the other side of it is, though, that they're here to bring together body, mind, and spirit. So you come in already knowing that lesson.
Wow.
Okay. We've already been our moon sign. We're comfortable with it. So you come in saying, I want to master something, because the other thing with Virgo is mastery, self-mastery, body, mind, and spirit aligning, okay? But also mastery of some talent or skill. Virgos are the master craftswomen and men, okay? So on one level, on a very mundane level, a regular level, it's about health, and it's about food, and it's about yoga, you know, all of those health-related modalities, if you will, okay? But also just on a personal level, it's about you belong to yourself. Virgo is the sign of the virgin. And in ancient times, virgins, it wasn't about sex. It was about, this is a woman who belongs to herself. She doesn't belong to a man.
That's cool.
Okay, that's where they mistranslated the Bible about Mary.
Yeah.
She didn't belong to a man at the time she had Jesus.
Okay.
So you were born with, and this is an earth sign as well, so you're very grounded, you're very earthy, okay? And you want to be of service, because that is why you incarnated this lifetime. I won't go into it here, but you do have Pluto next to your moon, which indicates maybe a very intense mother.
That's a good word for it. Okay.
Okay, and we won't get into the personal stuff,
Okay.
which I would do in a session. Okay, we would talk about that in a session. Now, the third big aspect of a chart is your ascendant. That's why, if you know the time you were born, because the ascendant is what's the degree that rises over the horizon at the moment of your birth. So it's the way we look at the world. It's like our glasses. And you were born with Cancer coming up over the horizon. So you look in the world and you go, oh, I need to nurture things. I am the mommy. Okay.
Yep.
Right? So you go, so you look at the world and you go, oh, people need to be nurtured. And also people come to you probably, and they meet you and they start telling you their story,
All the time.
right?
Yeah.
All the time. That's why you have a Cancer ascendant. Okay? My sister has a Cancer ascendant, and after a while she gets annoyed. Why do people keep bothering me? Because you're not a literal mom, and you don't know how to put down the barriers. Okay, because as a mother, we know when they're babies, you take care of them totally. As they grow up, you teach them things. By the time they're in high school, they need to know things.
Yeah.
And you're there to help them integrate into society. And then when they're in college and beyond, you can't say anything until they ask you.
Now listen.
Right? But so many people, because of the culture we're brought up in, mothers are expected to sacrifice themselves for their children.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't, it's like you're a bad mother.
Yeah.
No,
That's not all about
that is not what a mother does.
Yeah.
Right? So we're redefining terms. And that's why I say I like to work with women, because we need to redefine ourselves, because men have defined us up until now for the last 4,000 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But especially the last 500. Okay, after they burnt all the women at the stake for being witches, then they started saying, this is who you are. And we went, okay, anything you say, just as long as you don't burn me.
Yeah.
So there's that sense of redefinition, redefining, knowing who we are. Okay, and this, of course, goes for men, too. I'm not leaving men out.
Yeah.
So there's many other planets, like for you, let me just quickly look at it again. I like to see you when I'm talking to you. But anyway, so we look at different planets. You have Venus okay, so you have Mercury. Mercury is the mind. Of course, it doesn't get very far from the sun because it's the closest to the sun. And so you have Mercury in Capricorn. You have a very practical mind. Okay. And you also have Mars in Capricorn, as well as Saturn, the planet of responsibility. So you have a very strong signature of, I'm a leader. I know how to work the system. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to get you back. I know how to work the system. And it doesn't mean I have to fall into it. People who fall into the system don't know how to work it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? But when you know how to work it, then you can use the system for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's very much an executive system here going for you. But then you have Venus and Sagittarius. You are a truth speaker. You love the truth. You're a seeker. Do you know? You're kind of fun. You'd probably be fun to hang out with. Because you have Jupiter right next to Venus, and so that makes you a lot of fun. Jupiter expands things. I would just say a few more things to you, and then we can go on to some of the other things I do. Right now, you are being you're being transited or hit, or whatever you want to call it, by the planet Uranus. Uranus is in Aries right now, and since 2012, it's been asking us, who are you? Uranus is the planet of awakening, okay? Back in the 60s, Uranus, the planet of revolution and waking up, came together and started a cycle like a new moon with Pluto, the planet of transformation and evolution. So now, 40 years later, they're in a 90-degree angle, a square, and they're challenging each other. So since 2008, Pluto, death and rebirth, has been in Capricorn exactly when the financial system crashed.
Yes.
And because Capricorn is about financial systems, any kind of collective systems. And then Uranus went into Aries and said, wake up, the system is falling apart. We need you, right?
Yeah.
So this whole year, you have been having this knock on your door saying, wake up, Carolyn, we need you, right?
Absolutely.
And if you don't listen, you get hit by a thunderbolt until you listen.
Many years
Right?
of thunderbolts, yes.
Right? So that's been a big thing for you. And then at the same time, your moon has been affected by the planet Neptune. Neptune is the planet of spirituality. And so you're opening to the larger reality. So you can see why this is the year you're launching.
Yeah.
Okay? You're launching this.
That's so interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So the universe helps us understand the timing rhythms of our life as a collective and as in person. Do you know?
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I love it.
It really is.
I do love it. Just for an example, Jupiter is the planet of luck and expansion and good times. Jupiter was the god of spirit, if you will, in ancient Greece, right? But it's a collective force, and it accelerates things. So interestingly, it's been in Libra for the last year. And on October 10th, it went into the sign of Scorpio, which is all about sex and taboos and what needs to be transformed. And that was the day they went after Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Right? Now, we've had this come up before in our culture with our president and other men, but it wasn't until Jupiter went into Scorpio that it hit big time.
And now look, it's one after another after another.
One after another, it took them down. Okay? In Libra, it said, are we being fair and balanced? And in the year before, are we being, so it was like, look at this. There's some imbalance here. But then when it went into Scorpio, all the taboo things came out.
Finally.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's going to be there for the next year. So we can read the heavens. Whoever created us gave us a story, a cosmic story that we can understand. So one of the things I do is I write newsletters for full moons and new moons so that we can be in touch with those rhythms. Because, of course, that's another thing, especially with women, although men are beginning to too. As we find ourselves, we find our old spirituality, which is our connection to the earth.
Mm.
And so women, more than men, will go out and do full moon rituals, or we'll gather at new moons. And so when we gather at new moons, we talk about what goddess energy wants to get born this month. At the full moon, we go, how did we do? Are we out in the world? Are we bringing that talent into the world?
Such accountability. I love that.
Right? And so there's this beautiful rhythm of life that we have lost touch with. And so when you get in touch with that and the cycle of the year, like the winter solstice, like the spring equinox, like Beltane and Samhain and all of those wonderful 8 gateways of the year, we realize we don't have to rush and go. If we get back in touch with Mother Earth's rhythms, we live a much more balanced life. So that's another part of what I do. A third, the most important, the one I like the best, although a lot of people cannot remember them, is working with dreams, because we have the outline of astrology. It's the blueprint, but we got to fill in the house and decorate it, right? We built the house, but now what are we decorating? How are we dealing with the energies? And that's what dreams show us. Dreams are how our soul sees our life. You and your dream are just the ego. You're just part of it. That's why you're only part of the dream. There's all the other parts of you that you're relating to, right? So dreams are is your energy, okay? And it puts on a face so we can understand it. So you couldn't remember any of your dreams, you said.
I have never been able to. I mean, maybe snippets every now and then, but
right. Well, part of it is you need to put a notebook next to your bed. You need not to be on the computer for about an hour beforehand. You need to, ask for it. Some people are natural dreamers. Those are the introverts. They're more subjective. Other people, but introverts need to learn how to be extroverts, and extroverts need to learn how to be introverts. I'll give you a quick story. My mother is totally extroverted, and I'm totally introverted, or I was. And she never dreams. And one night I had this amazing dream in which I had to sacrifice myself for the good of my community. And in the dream, I had to have my head cut off. So my mother, who was visiting my family in California, was flying home that day. And she called me up and she said, I don't dream very often, but last night I dreamt of decapitated bodies. So I am getting insurance. I went, no, you just were in my dream. So we can connect with other people in the dream when it's important. Like, here's another example. I signed up to take an internet social media marketing, and it was getting confusing in the first week or two. And I thought, this is beyond me. I'm going to quit. And I had a dream that my older brother came and went like this and said, I have cancer. So what would you do with that? Most people would go, oh my God. Well, my brother used to be in marketing.
Oh.
Okay. And his birthday's the day before mine. And he's older than me, but so he's another Taurus. And our neck is what rules Taurus.
Oh.
And we can be very stubborn about things. And so he came to tell me, you know what, if you quit, that's like you having cancer. Okay, that you're stopping something. So I didn't quit. And I'm taking the course and I'm learning things.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see, it's like our own divine wisdom coming into our lives. And at first it's hard to read, and that's why you would come to someone like me. But once you learn it, you have it for the rest of your life.
Okay, I'm going to put a piece of paper next to my bed. And I do that when I wake up with ideas all the time. I wake up with ideas, but I'm going to try that. Now it bothers me that I can't remember my dreams, and I'm going to remember one for you.
Okay, and you can send it to me. You can take vitamin B6. Sometimes that helps. I don't know exactly the chemistry, but it helps open the third eye a bit. Okay. The other thing is that usually when we wake up, we get going on our day. You have to be able to lie there and sort of cuddle and sort of bring it in. But one other example that's a wonderful example is in my dream group. One of the women dreamt, and in the dream she was at this store, and this lady brought her these big giant earrings, and she said, I don't usually like these, wear big earrings. And the lady went, no, you need it. So when we talked about it, it was about that she doesn't listen to her husband very well. And she went home and started listening and totally changed their relationship.
Oh, wow.
So these are the tiny clues. And, people come to me for, I do tarot, and we can pull a tarot card for you. They'll come to me for tarot readings or for astrology. But once again, the dream, once you understand your inner life, okay?
Yeah.
And of course it takes not only courage, but it takes a commitment. Okay, people can come and just say, I have a dream I'd like to tell you, and that's fine. But if you look at your dreams over a period of time, you really begin to see the themes in your life and how you deal with them.
Ah, that's wonderful.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because like a lot of Geminis who are all about traveling always dream about traveling. They're always moving and this is especially men that I know, 2 males in my dream classes, and they're both Gemini, and their dreams are constantly about all the different places they've gone. Because of course Gemini is about how we experience life and then perceive it and think about it. So everybody's dreams will be a little different.
Oh, that's interesting. Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. And something about astrology I meant to say, and you're a perfect example, Virgo likes to finish things, okay? So if you came to me and said, I don't like to finish things, then I would say we need to do a little work on that. If you're an Aries are like the pioneers of the zodiac. They'll go and start something, and then everybody else will circle around, and they'll go, adios, I'm out of here. Okay, so Aries don't need to finish things.
It's funny, that's how I feel I am, though.
What?
Starting things. But when it comes to the little bitsy managing, I want no part of that.
Well, the thing is, you don't have to manage everything. You do have, right now, you don't have anything in Aries, but we could look at different, parts of your chart, because of course there's many charts to look at. Sure. But you're constantly thinking of things isn't the only Aries thing. Aries is really about concretely going out and starting things, but maybe then dropping the project.
Oh yeah, I don't drop. Yeah.
No. Okay. Having a lot of ideas is just being creative. It's when you start a project, and then like a friend of mine who's in Aries, learned how to make soap and creams, and all her friends came and learned, and it was like, okay, I'm done. And she didn't anymore, but they did. They, 1 or 2 started a business. Right. Okay. So it's that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. Excuse me.
So then in coaching, once again, coaching is how do we make steps to make something happen in the outer world. But the coaching I do, the wisdom coaching, is how do we make steps to do the inner world and then bring it out. Mm-hmm. Because like in now the Hollywood people and storytellers, they talk about the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, outlined. The hero with 1,000 faces, the hero's journey. And it's about how do we go out in the world and make something of ourselves. Okay, but there's also a heroine's journey. How do we go inside and divest of all the shoulds and oughts and find our own voice, find our own vision, find our own spirituality, find our own way of doing things in the world. So there's the 2 parts of the vision. One is the inner journey and one is the outer journey.
Sure, of course. Wow.
So do you have anything that you would like to ask a question about? And I'll pull a couple cards and I'll show you how we work with the images.
Boy, it's usually my question has to do with how are we all doing with Holistic Campus and on the right track. And that's usually a positive response. But.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to ask what's the next, what do you need to do specifically?
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So tell me when to stop shuffling.
Okay. Now it's good.
Okay. So I'm just going to do a quick reading for you. And I got to have space here. Okay. Okay, so you're on the Grail quest. You're saying, I am looking for my heart's desire. And so I'm going to do everything I can to manifest it. Okay? And so it's about how do we take that beautiful heart of yours out into the world. And that's what you're doing with this. Okay? You want the world to grow and change and wake up. And so we can create the heaven on earth that we can create if we didn't put things into war and death and awful things, right? So here you are. And if you know the myths, the Grail Knights, they were looking for the Holy Grail. Okay? Which is the feminine, the divine feminine. The water of life. So you're on the search for the water of life, the things that will excite you and nurture you, right? And the only thing you need to know is that it's going to happen, okay? You have such strong energy, okay, and strong creativity that whatever happens, you will be able to weave something out of that. Because, of course, sometimes things don't go as we plan, but if you're a good weaver and sewer, okay, and you see once again a very feminine gift, weaving, sewing, tying things together, right? Like grandmother's spider. We all go, ooh, spiders, but grandmother's spider was very cool. She knew how to relate everything, and she taught us the alphabet. So I use a lot of myths and stories because you know what? They talk to your heart rather than your head.
Right.
And when your heart knows something, your head follows.
Yes.
Right? So the thing I would say to you is know your own strength. Know your own power. Okay? If somebody disagrees with you, you can have a discussion. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just two different points of view. Okay? And the wonderful thing about feminine strength is we don't try to kill our passion. Okay? In all the ancient stories, the great heroes go out and kill the lion. Okay, Hercules, I got to kill the lion and then I get to wear the lion skin, right? But in the tarot cards of strength, which is what we got, the woman closes the mouth of the lion. The ancient goddesses always had the wild cats as their totems, okay? Because we know how to ride our passions. And if you've noticed, men in the world don't like us to be passionate.
No, I know.
Okay? So my job is to encourage women to live their wild, passionate self without becoming a crazy person, without doing something harmful to themselves. How do we ride the lioness? How do we become that strength, that power? How do we speak our truth? Okay, so that we're not afraid anymore.
Right. That came up this weekend, actually, just the whole passion of it, and I'm in a house of all men.
I have three sons. I get it.
There's another side to everything, guys.
They just don't get it, and we want them to get it. It's like we really want you to have this, but okay. And how do we stand up to, oh, you're emotional, or oh, you know, why do you have to be like this? You're raising your voice. It's like, no, I'm passionate.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Stop the tears. This is good. Tears are good.
Yeah. You know? And so a lot of it is rediscovering where you're strong. Okay. And when you don't have a strength, ask someone else to do it, because you've created a circle. Right? So you don't have to, you're just the director of all of us, okay? And when you need help, you have to pull in who you need. That's part of a feminine strength.
Cathy,
right? Male strength says, I have to do it all on my own. A feminine strength says, oh, I have sisters and brothers who are in the community, and I'm not good at this, but that person is, and you pull it in. That's just as much strength as you standing alone.
I was working on that very thing today.
Okay, and so that's why the tarot cards brought it up. So all of these tools that help us understand where we are. We can do singles. You can just do, I just need help right now. Or if you really want to be on a path of, who am I? Okay, then you can do a more consistent type of work. Okay, there's so many now modalities. You and I both know when we were young, none of this was around.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And so that's the exciting thing. And so then then the spiritual side comes in through opening your imagination and connecting to spirit. Spirit's talking to us constantly, but through the imagination. And so that's the biggest point I would like to make. We need to reclaim our imagination. Hollywood and the media have taken it over. They've told us the imagination is for children, and then they bombard us with images that go into our psyches and stay there. So we have to reclaim our imagination for all those great creative ideas that you have, right? And own it so that we're not being influenced by the outer world, but we're listening to nature, we're listening to our nature, and we're coming up with solutions to our personal issues and our collective issues.
That's so interesting, though, that spirit comes through imagination, which can often be when you feel like, is this really happening, or am I really connecting? When it feels like in imagination, perhaps it is actually spirit.
Well, it is. Imagination is how our soul talks to us. That's the dream part, right? The left brain is very rational. The right brain is our connection to spirit and to our own soul. And that's why I work with images, why I work with the dreams, because that's the soul's talk, okay? The left brain, the rational side, is the ego's talk. Okay. You don't want to get rid of the ego's talk, but you don't want to make it the master. It's the servant of the heart. It's the servant of our feelings. It's the servant of our imagination.
Right? Yeah. That should not be in charge.
Right. Don't the Native Americans have a stone someplace where they talk about the two-hearted people that were going to come and wreck their land? Us. Because we're split.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, that's so interesting.
So that's just a quick, survey when we work with dreams. Like if we were working and you wanted to ask more about your astrology chart, you could do a shamanic journey to talk to the planets. Or if you have a dream and you don't quite understand, like one of my clients had a dream in which this force took her to another planet and hung her upside down. Okay. Like the Hanged Man in the tarot, and she has to go in and do a shamanic journey, or we call it active imagination too, and talk about, well, why did you bring me here? Okay. Right? And our wisdom comes through the imagination and tells you why.
Okay.
That's what shamanic journeying is, to go speak to the spirit world and understand.
Wow, and there's so much to it.
It's a beautiful, beautiful, and it encompasses stories and, what is the story of your life? And is it done? Who wrote that story? Do you want to write a new story?
Yeah.
So many ways we can approach who we are, just as long as it's our story and not someone else's story about us.
Right, exactly. Oh, that's beautiful, Cathy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's beautiful. I have a lot to think about.
You probably have a dream.
And you're going to be the first one I call when I do.
I'm going to wish you a dream.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care, dear.